These days, current events unfold on a dozen channels. Headlines all seem to be shouting, and good news can be as scarce as a moment to relax. So let's turn down the noise this summer, unplug just a little bit, and head to a shelter from the storms of life. The historic port city of Alpena, located on the Sunrise Shore of Michigan. Only a few hours drive, but miles away from the weight of the world. Nestled between a vast forest and an endless clear blue bay, where the wonders of nature are as welcoming as the local hospitality. We can explore more than 200 shipwrecks in the largest freshwater sanctuary anywhere. Count the stairs to the top of a lighthouse, or the masts that jut into the harbor sky at moonrise. Let's take a trip to the friendly, picturesque city of Alpena, a haven from the world that's pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting, April 20th, 2015. Call the roll, please.
Johnson?
Here.
Nielsen? Here. Nowak?
Here.
Sexton?
Here.
Walagora?
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone had an opportunity to read the regular session, the minutes for regular session April 6, 2015 and closed session April 6, 2015. Any issues, changes? Any modifications to the agenda this evening?
Yes, I have one request. You have a memo before you, and I'd like to add the potential purchase of property as an additional item under the closed session. And I will take a motion and roll call vote on that.
So moved.
Second.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Okay.
Johnson?
Yes.
Okay. Any others? Modifications, that is. Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes maximum to address their concerns. This is the only time during council meeting that citizens are allowed to address council. If you do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records.
Angie Skiba, 635 River Street. I am just checking to see when there would be a report in the Alpena News regarding the settlement or the partial settlement on the problems with the sidewalks that we have had, and we've been working on the list for that. I've been on a list for that to be replaced for years. I'm wondering if full disclosure is going to be made to John Q. Public about the details and the things that have taken place on that. I do see it's on the list down there, but I didn't know how extensive it was going to be, if it was going to be in the paper with details. So I'm hoping that that will be taking place. So thank you.
Thanks, Angie.
Good evening. I'm Bill Forbush, Fire Chief. I'd like to introduce 3 of our personnel that were promoted today to higher ranks. A couple of the council members were able to make it on short notice. Appreciate it very much, Cindy and Mike. But it was a wonderful ceremony, and I just want to point out Captain Caldwell, Captain Brian Caldwell, been with the department quite a long time. He came to us from Detroit EMS where he spent several years, got a lot of good experience. He's been a lieutenant for a number of years. He's going to be a great captain for us. Hiding back here is Andy Marceau. Everybody knows Fireman Andy. He's now Lieutenant Fireman Andy, so it'll be a little harder now, Lieutenant Andy. But he now is moving into a supervisory capacity. We're very excited for that. And of course, the top dog here, very happy to have Bob Adrian as our new Deputy Chief Fire Marshal. And that's going to be a godsend for me, and it's really going to help our fire prevention program get off the ground and running. So just wanted to introduce these guys in their new role.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the consent agenda this evening is bills to be allowed in the amount of $281,493.89. B is recognition of the Friends of the Alpena Farmers Market as a civic service organization for the purpose of obtaining a raffle license. And C is the renewal of auditing services, Straley, Kraenzlein, PC, July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016.
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Noah,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Presentations, we have an announcement this evening, a reminder of May 5th, 2015 is a special election. Did you have more on that?
just to let you know, polls are open from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. It's a one proposal ballot, and that's it. Call us if you have any questions, if you're not sure if you're registered to vote.
Thank you. And nothing else, and like you said, there's nothing else on that ballot in the
That's-
county either?
It's a statewide proposal, that's it.
Thank you. We have a proclamation this morning, or this evening, sorry. For Give a Hand to Friends Affected by Cancer Day. Whereas Friends Together is a local nonprofit organization supporting local residents dealing with cancer while building partnerships in the community, providing programs and offering services. And whereas Friends Together is concluding its annual fundraising campaign to support local services on Friday, June 5th, 2015 at the Alpena Band Shell from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And whereas Friends Together desires to invite the entire Alpena community to join in a celebration of cancer survivors, caregivers, and families, and remember those who have lost the battle. Now therefore, I, Matthew J. Walagora, by the virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Alpena, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 5th, 2015 as Give a Hand to Friends Affected by Cancer Day in the city of Alpena. Encourage all citizens of the city to recognize and support their neighbors and friends who are experiencing cancer treatment and show their support to those loved ones who have lost the battle. And this evening we have Judy Burns, Stacy Resnowski, and Anika Wagner with us. Would you like to say a couple words about your...
We would just like to invite the community to our June 5th event. It's a family event, open to the community. It's a way for us to thank the community for giving us the money that they've helped us raise, donate, that we can help all the families in Alpena County to service them. I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but we transport 40% of the cancer center's patients to their appointments and that. So it's pretty big that the money that we've given, we give it all back to the community. So we'd like to invite everybody out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, report of officers. Treasurer's quarterly financial report through March 31st, 2015.
I'm going to refer to the quarterly financial report. I gave you the colorful one. Through the third quarter, of our financial year, the city is on track with both our revenue and our expenses. The revenue is at 78.45% and expenditures are at 67.77%. And I just wanted to make a few comments on the page. I always look at the revenue and expenses and see if there's any differences. So in the right side of your sheet, revenue expenditures by department. If you notice, the revenue expenditures in the general fund are much lower than last year at this time. And that's basically because we received more of our rental rehab money last year. So sometimes it's just timing. In the ambulance, you notice the revenue is 15% higher than last year, but so is the expenses. Revenue and expenses were higher at the same time last year in Parks and Rec, partly because we purchased the beach hotel. And we borrowed that from the equipment fund, so you see a little bit more revenue coming in last year and the more expenses, to demolish it, et cetera. And then the other financing uses on the very bottom under expenses. Those are monies that we subsidize other funds with, for example, local major streets, marina. And the only reason that that's a little different is because we gave $300,000 to the streets, whereas this year we gave $200,000. So I always try to look at the reasons why those might differ. And other than that, the 15-16 budget we'll present at the next council meeting. We originally anticipated over $665,000 that we would be taking out of the fund balance for the current year, but it looks like it'll be about $225,000 less because just because we came in under budget for 13-14, so that gave us a little bit more revenue and didn't put us in the hole quite so much. For next fiscal year, we anticipate using approximately $290,000 from our fund balance and having approximately 19% undesignated fund balance. And those are just rough numbers for right now, but we do look forward to giving you that. I believe it's May 4th. Any questions on that?
Isn't that almost the exact same numbers as last year?
Pardon?
Isn't that about the exact same number as last year, about 290,000?
Actually, last year we budgeted 13-14, 14-15, we thought we were going to take about $430,000 out. And then 15-16, we thought 200, oops, I'm sorry, that's this year's, so I thought I had written down last year's. No, I don't have those, but they were quite a bit higher, 601,000, yeah, last year. 655,000, and then this year we tried to keep it under $500,000, it's 430,000, so we were able to bring down expenses. Unfortunately, some of it was cut in capital, but we tried to address each area, operating and salaries, and try to do a little bit in every area.
We're seeing an uptick in revenue from property taxes. We're hoping we've rounded the corner. I think we're expecting for this coming fiscal year roughly $150,000.
Maybe just about $100,000.
In additional revenue from property tax, which isn't a lot considering all we lost for about 5-6 years. But it is an uptick. The question is it going to be an ongoing trend or is it simply a blip? Hopefully it's the former and not the latter.
I think if I remember correctly, when the downturn came in 2009, it would take approximately around 10 or 11 years to even get back to those levels based on, it can go down as fast as it wants to, but it can only go up at what is an inflation rate. So it's going to take us that long to even get back to even from those years. So
that's why we still have to be very careful.
Exactly.
We do.
Exactly. No, and it just my comment is just, thank you to both of you, obviously, and to every department head for, all the hard work to bring us in again under budget and keeping our expenses tight.
Any questions on the budget or a little bit more discussion about that next meeting?
Can we receive and file?
Receive and file?
So moved.
Please.
Second.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen. Tonight we have bids. The city concrete program is the first one, sir.
Excuse me. On April 6th, the city received and opened bids for the annual city concrete program. And this is the program where folks sign up for concrete under the voluntary program or to replace concrete, sidewalk, etc. that was damaged or disturbed during the winter water main breaks. This was sent to various firms as well as posted on the city's website with 2 bids received as follows. Bedrock Contracting, $44,753.40. And Zan Brothers Construction, $64,527.50. Now, that does vary from the as-read low bid. Whenever we get the bids in, we always do a bid tab on them to make sure that they've added and multiplied correctly. In this case, Zan Brothers had made a mistake in their multiplication on their curb line item. $10 a foot for 1,800 lineal feet, and they bid it at, they basically said it was $1 a foot when it should have been. They put in 1,800 when it should have been 18,000. So that's where the disparity comes from. As both bidders are outside the city limits but inside Alpena County, the local bidder's preference does not apply. After reviewing the proposed prices, it is my recommendation to city engineer that we award the city concrete program Bedrock Contracting for the 2015 construction season at the unit prices outlined on the attached bid tabulation. This contract has an option for one-year renewal. The resident cost per sidewalk replacement under this program is established at 60% of the cost for the installation of 4-inch replacement sidewalk. This cost would include both the contractor's cost of $3.05 and engineering costs of approximately 35 cents per square foot, totaling $3.40. 60% of this cost would be $2.04. It is my recommendation to city engineer that the property owner sidewalk rate be established at $2.04, and that is included in the budget documents. And this would represent a 3-cent decrease below the 2014 rate of $2.07 per square foot.
Very good. My only question, obviously, earlier was just the disparity between the 2 bids and whether, and then on the 3rd page where it shows their bids in that chart, they were significantly different. So, and Zan Brothers has won the bid for and done our concrete before.
Yes, they held it up till about 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and then Bedrock has been doing it for the last, I think, 4 years.
4 years. Okay. Yeah, just like I said, the disparity between the bids were my only question. So, I think those answered.
Rich, this comes up every year basically, and always creeps up just a little tiny bit. This year it went down, which is good. Do you attribute that to just fuel prices being less, or is there materials in the industry that are a little less, or do you have an explanation?
I have several opinions on why that happens, but nothing scientific. But 2 years ago, we saw when Bedrock first won, or 4 years ago when Bedrock first won the contract, there was a reduction then. And I don't remember exactly that for that first renewal if they held their price the same or not. Second time we bid it, again, we saw a little bit of reduction in the cost. And then he held his prices again for the next year. And then again, like I said, this year, the 3rd time we're bidding it, he's been the low bidder. We're seeing a reduction. Whether he's sharpening his pencil, whether he wants to keep it and doesn't want to lose it, and everybody knows last time, those bids from last time, he tries to reduce it below that, so.
Okay.
Is this this is for the volunteer program, basically. This is nothing that's required or anything like that. I just thought we should remind on that as well. So, yep, everything is volunteer on this particular prices.
Correct.
Okay.
I move we award the city concrete program bid to Bedrock Construction and set the rate at $2.04 as presented.
Second.
My only comment, just briefly, is that I'm not sure if Ms. Skiba thought that this was the topic she was expecting, but if you've taken a quick note on that, I don't really want you to report on it now because it's not on the agenda. But if you want to jot that down and report on that at some.
Actually, that's beyond my pay grade. That's a Bill Pfeiffer, because it's still in the court system.
Yeah, we'll address that later, but that's not what this was tonight. I just want to make sure you're clear.
If you want to address it as an agenda item, the next meeting, I can do a brief update for the packet and tell you where we're at with it.
Is that where we're at? What that is, that something you'd like to do?
That's fine, if you want to know where we are at and where it's going, if
So would I.
anywhere.
Yep.
Let's do that. That sounds
Okay.
fair enough.
Mhm.
Thanks. If you're ready for the vote on
Walagore,
that. Aye?
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noah,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
We'll stay here for the high service pump motor water at the water production plant there.
On March 16, 2015, the City of Alpena received and opened bids for purchase and installation of a new high-service pump motor and control system for the water production plant. Just to give you a real brief history, and I was telling Greg, I was answering this question to Greg earlier today, and I told him wrong, so. But in our high-service pump, which basically what that does is it takes and pumps the water out of our clear well, our finished water, and then pumps it out into the distribution system. Within that high-service pump area, we actually have 3 electric motors, and then we had a diesel-powered generator that would provide the power for another pump. The diesel-powered generator was 1956 vintage. When parts go bad, it was searched in the internet, wherever you could find them to get them. So we discontinued the use of that pump and actually removed the fuel tank a number of years ago because of the concerns with having an outside diesel fuel storage tank at that location. So it's been sitting there with the intention of being replaced with a new electric motor. We have the backup generation capabilities. We have a generator on site that's capable of running the entire plant plus this motor. So we don't need that diesel backup within the building, but we do need to replace that motor. And basically we're at a position where, and the MDEQ has been asking us, when are we going to replace it? And we've told them it's priorities. I've taken it, put that on the back burner, and we've had to move other things ahead. And this was a project that we did have in this year's budget, and we do have the funding secured for it. So we're going to upgrade that to an all-electric pump down in that high service area. And basically what happens is, with the DEQ, even though we would have 4 pumps down there, they look at our pumping capability based on the largest one of those pumps being out of service, that it has failed, it's not available to pump. Right now, we would be downgraded from our 6 million gallons to the 5.25 if we don't replace this. So by putting this in, we will be able to maintain that 6 million gallon per day pumping capacity, which is far beyond what we need right now. We're pumping a lot less than that on a daily basis, but it does secure us into the future for that. Bids were received from 3 vendors, with only one providing the complete acquisition installation package. Based on the bids received per the attached bid tabulation, Mike Collins, water plant supervisor, prepared the attached recommendation. Based on these documents, it is my recommendation to city engineer to award the high service pump motor project to Meridian Contracting in the amount of $57,780. In the current budget, we'd established the funding at $18,000. It was back spring of last year we put this together. As we started evolving this project towards implementation, became apparent that we needed to upgrade the motor control center and put a variable frequency drive on there, which basically paces the pumping capacity to the demands out in the system. So we're not shutting it on, turning it off, shutting it on, turning it off. It's paced to it. As we do, sufficient funding is available and has been programmed through the budget process and the capital line item to undertake this project. We've got another project that came in significantly under budget, and then in going through this budget process we've just gone through, we did put a few extra dollars in there to cover all of the expenses that we anticipate through the end of the year, so we will have sufficient funding available.
Questions for Rich?
No.
Good explanation to me.
I do have one question.
Sure.
And this is kind of a out there question. What is, generally, what would you guess the life of this new VFD pump would be?
I would say we will probably get 40 to 50 years out of it. We don't run it necessarily every day. This one would probably be used a lot in the summertime when we have higher demands. In the wintertime, we would use some of the smaller pumps. So it's a lot like it's running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so that, in that essence, we're going to get a lot of years out of it. Plus, with the newer technology, we can pull that motor, take it in, have it rebuilt, put it right back in. The pump will be good, it's just the motor that won't need work.
Thank you.
I move we approve the, or award the bid to, for the high sensor pump to, in Control Center in the amount of $57,780 to Meridian Contracting.
Second.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Next up, unfinished business, ordinance number 2015-429, the second reading of ordinance number 2015-429, an ordinance adding sections 98-40 through 98-53 to chapter 98 to regulate and restrict the use of groundwater in certain areas of the city of Alpena due to the presence of groundwater contamination.
I'll give you a brief summary again if you prefer, but other than that, I have not received any. I take that back. I received one phone call, thinking it was applying to the entire city after I talked to the gentleman that clarified that. Other than that, I haven't heard from anybody in that regards. So if you want to have any questions, or I can give the summary of what's going on again.
I certainly don't have any questions. If anybody have any questions, you want to give a quick summary, and Bill, you don't have anything else to add, or do you have to give a summary as well? Or?
I do not, and I do not have to read this unless requested so by council.
If you want to give us a brief summary again, just in the event that someone is...
Certainly. City of Alpena is an older city, and there are areas where we have known groundwater contamination. Many of those sites is either very difficult to clean up, or we cannot determine where the groundwater contamination came from. Because there are those sites out that are particularly difficult to clean up, or we can't establish who's liable for it, the best solution for the safety of the citizens is to enable a groundwater restriction ordinance, which would prevent any existing wells from operating in these locations and prevent any new wells from being established in these existing locations. There are some exceptions for certain types of wells that are allowed. Principally, as most of the municipality has city water service, this would affect irrigation wells more so than anywhere else. And irrigation wells can stay if they are tested according to District Health Department and DEQ standards. This area we're looking at is in the intersection of Washington and Ripley for this particular request. There are 21 associated parcels, and we're not aware of any known irrigation wells at this location. So this would effectively, for these 21 parcels, eliminate any potential future groundwater wells they could utilize for irrigation or other reasons without getting it cleared by the DEQ and Health Department.
Very good.
Just considering the area, very unlikely to come up probably, huh?
What was that?
Fairly unlikely that it would even come up, isn't it?
It is fairly unlikely, and as we noted, there aren't any wells that we're aware of, but we want to make sure this will help the applicant close their case to the DEQ, and this will ensure that in the future we don't, that there aren't any wells allowed in that area. And there's potential this could, a similar zone, restriction zone could be implemented later by a different applicant, and this ordinance sets that framework.
As the city's brownfield authority director, we usually find when we do brownfield plans and we work with sites to redevelop them, it's usually not the norm that we are doing remediation, or we only do partial remediation, if any, and the rest is usually done through one of two ways. There are physical means, basically sealing off the contamination, such as with a parking lot. If you need one and that's where the contamination is under, by paving it, you seal contact from of the contamination from the public. The other is through institutional controls, which is what this does. It's by, in this case, effectively creating a ban of the use of private wells within a specific area. As I said at the last meeting, we basically have done this on a site, but not quite in this fashion, at the old Oxbow Park, which was a landfill when the DEQ went through, did work for us on the site, and they got to the point where they allowed development on it. One of the conditions was that there could be no private wells on that 40-acre site. And so that is a deed restriction on there. But that's, at the time, it was one parcel owned by one entity, the city, and then later Walden Properties. So it was easy to do it that way, as that kind of a restriction. And then when they sell, that restriction goes with the land. Here we're talking about multiple properties, and so it's not as easy to do that. It's more cumbersome, so it's easier to do it this way. And it is very normal. It's for public health. It is not a way of trying to make it easier for the violator, because in most cases where we have pollution nowadays, at the time that whether they were underground storage, fuel tanks or gasoline storage, whatever, they were following the rules, regulations, and the normal standard manufacturing, standards of the time. So it wasn't that they were out doing anything illegal. However, those standards have changed, and the environmental laws have changed, and now they do have issues, and sometimes they can be fairly easily remedied. We've done them elsewhere. When we bought 2 motels ago, we found an underground fuel tank there that was removed. We removed some of the soil, made sure there were no issues, and we did remediate. But cases like this, if we wanted to remediate this, you might be talking about eliminating a lot of homes, businesses, plus tearing up a street, and in those streets we have lots of infrastructure. I think most of you remember what on State Avenue, the 2 homes where they basically made islands as they dug out from the old gasification plant that I think at that time was Consumers Power, that back then that had it, to try to remove contaminated soil. Those, you got structures that are fairly spaced apart, goodly distance. You don't have that within this district. Even the homes, the businesses, they're all very close together, plus everything that's in the street. It would not be practical. You could never effectively remediate it without basically doing a massive urban renewal project in that district. The only area where we did do that was the old Fibrenson property, but that was easy. There were no streets out there. There was no infrastructure. There may have been some buildings. Those were eliminated. And yes, with the help of a few $1 million from the federal government, they went in and did take out the soils and replace them, and we actually could build homes on that property, where we now have the Commerce Industrial Park. But that's more the exception. Those funds are few and far between now, more difficult to get, and that was a site where it worked. This would be one where it worked.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. Adam? Bill has nothing?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Unless someone would like
Unless you
to
want it read, I'll read it
do
if
a
you want
second
me to.
reading.
I move we approve ordinance number 2015-429.
Second.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, then we have the approval of the well water restriction zone application fee schedule as well. That has to be separate.
Yeah, and then we'll put that in the budget, so it'll be
Okay.
okay.
Everyone has that, I don't know, we went over it last meeting when we talked about this, so unless anybody has an issue with the fees, I can't find them now. Thank you. My thing, I'm scrolling. They'd be the establishment of the well water restriction zone. Application fee for 1 to 20 parcels would be $250, 21 to 40 parcels would be $500, and 41 or more parcels would be $750, and the only change would be that we put in the 21-2 and the 41-2, so.
I move we approve the well water restriction zone application fee schedule.
Second.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Okay, no new business?
I move we adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Sexton?
Yep.
Walagora? Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
You are watching All About Alpena.